All right, I should be live now, I think. Cool. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I hope somebody joins me sometime soon. But what I want to do today is just run through and do a quick demo of Drupal CMS. So today is January 16th, and Drupal released their new version of Drupal called Drupal CMS yesterday. There's a lot of confusion about what it is, who it's for, what it does, what the differences are between that and the old Drupal that people know and love or don't love. So I just want to take a look at it, and I want to look at it from the perspective of somebody who has been committed to the WordPress ecosystem for a long time. All right, so I just rambled for 7 minutes and had absolutely no audio. So sorry about that. I'll have to cut this out in post. Awesome. Thank you, Kyle, for telling me that I have audio now. Cool. Going live is hard, man. All right, so we're going to just do a quick recap. We'll make this a little bit more concise since I rambled anyway. Here's the deal. Drupal's hard. Drupal's always been hard. And Drupal CMS is their effort to make it easy. This is a meme that everyone knows and loves. Yeah, that's was a practice round. Thanks, guys. So Drupal makes things, easy things hard and hard things easy. As compared to something like WordPress, where it's really easy to get into, but once you start having difficult requirements, then it becomes really complicated and convoluted. Drupal's sort of the other way around. It's almost a framework more than a web platform. They give you all the tools, but you need to figure out how to put them together. And you got to figure out the right way to do that. So that's where it starts to get really complicated. Let's see if I can switch scenes and make this happen this time. So anyway, getting back to it. So a few months ago, Drupal started looking at things and they went, man, this Drupal used to be really popular. It was great in the enterprise. People loved it. Why isn't anybody using this anymore? We've got this awesome system that's so powerful, but nobody loves me anymore. And they realized that it was just such a complicated system to use that it was overwhelming to get started. So they decided to start this Starshot initiative, which is a riff on the moonshot thing, sending a moon to Mars. So they did the Starshot initiative of, how do we make Drupal easy and approachable for non-enterprise and non-developers? And this thing that they released yesterday was their first shot at that, and I think they did pretty good. We'll take a look at it today. There's still a long way to go. They even admit that one of the big things that they want to include, which is called Experience Manager, is coming in the next version. And from what I've seen, that looks pretty promising as well. But anyway, let's take a peek at it. So here's the stuff that we're going to cover today. We'll do what the heck is Drupal? How is Drupal CMS different than Drupal core? I'll take a first glance at the Drupal interface. We'll go through a quick install of Drupal. We'll look at terminology. I want to compare the interfaces of Drupal and WordPress, and then I'll show you a few standout Drupal features and what that's all about. So we're just going to click over here to, my screen's cut off and cropped. Oh, awesome. Jesus, I just can't get anything right today, can I? Here we are on the Drupal website. Here we go. Scroll down just a little bit. We're going to see the way it is over. Drupal CMS is here. What the heck is this thing? So Drupal now comes in, I guess, two different flavors. There's Drupal core, which is the Drupal that we all have used for a long time. This is sort of the foundation of Drupal. It's the underlying engine that runs everything. Nice, Kyle. Thanks. Yeah, from now on, I'll come produce your lives and you can produce mine. Thanks. Yeah, I almost need a producer to do this live crap. I don't know how people do this on their own. So yeah, Drupal core, this is the stuff that runs Drupal. And we'll talk about this in a little bit more later, but Drupal is extremely modular. It's got this core, and then it has something called core modules, which are maintained by core that add functionality to it, and then contributed modules, which are a lot like plugins that we add to WordPress that add even more functionality. So Drupal core is like the engine. Drupal 11 is the latest version of that and has some of the core modules already enabled for you. Drupal CMS takes that one step farther, and it's actually specially configured for kind of marketers, small businesses, non-developers. So it has a lot of the stuff that you would generally need to go out and configure yourself. It's got all this stuff already put together in one nice package that's very easy to install and very easy to use. So they're not different systems. This isn't like a 1.0 product. It's more like Drupal made easy, or Drupal for idiots, or Drupal Lite. Not even Drupal Lite, because it's not missing anything. It's just pre-configured. So yeah, Drupal for dummies. There we go. That's what I'm going to call it from now on. So I've got this Drupal CMS. And right here, they call it out and they say Drupal CMS is for ambitious marketing. Puts the power of Drupal in the hands of marketers, designers, and content creators. That's really what they're shooting for here, is small businesses, marketers, content creators, people that need a website quickly without having to have an expensive developer, someone who's just going to go in there and pound away at code all the time, someone who has really, really crazy deep knowledge of all things technical. This is Drupal aimed more for WordPress users, WordPress agencies, WordPress designers. So going to market faster, easier for users to use, enterprise grade tooling, yada, yada, yada. This is some great marketing stuff right here. One of the things that's nice, I'll show you this in a bit when we install it, is that it's got this quick setup stuff here. So during the install, it sort of asks you, how you're going to use the website. And, using this wizard, it will install certain modules and configure certain things to get you started based on what kind of site you're building. So that's kind of nice. The content interface is sort of similar to classic WordPress. It doesn't have that old, it doesn't have the old clunky look that the WordPress interface has, but it's got more of a tiny MCE generic editor sort of thing. It doesn't use the Gutenberg editor by default. However, you can install Gutenberg inside Drupal and use that block editor if you want to use that. The admin interface, I think, again, is a little bit slicker than WordPress's. It's going to be a little bit more confusing just because terminology is different, things are in different places. It takes some getting used to. But I think it's a lot friendlier to use. That's just me personally. And then we've got some compliance stuff built in by design, and I'll show you that in a bit. And it says Drupal CMS versus Drupal core. Cool, there we go. All right, enough rambling about that. Let's show you. All right, like I said, Drupal CMS, it's not a new product. It's more like a distribution of Drupal. It includes the core software and additional modules. Yeah, cool. You can still install more stuff on the Drupal CMS, just like you would with Drupal core. It's just a quick start way. All right, let's take a peek at Drupal CMS, and I'm going to just fire up one that I've built here. Here we go. We've got a few different sandboxes going on right now. And there's my generic one, and here's my blog one. All right, so once you install Drupal, you kind of land in an interface that sort of looks like this. Let me expand this because this is a little bit more what it looks like. You install it. You're going to land on this dashboard, say back to site, and this is the website. Over here, this is the admin bar with all your admin tools. I can show and hide this if I want. That's kind of a nice interface right there. Here in the middle, I've got my content, and I can hover over different things, and I've got my little icon here to say edit, and this will take me into edit what it is that I'm hovering over at any point. So for example, if I want to edit this blog post, I can come right over here and click on that and say edit view. I'm sorry, just kidding. That's going to edit the view of my the homepage. That's not going to edit the content. If I want to edit the content, I click on the content, and then I can come in here and say edit. My dashboard just gives me an at-a-glance view of some things. What's the recent content? What are some tasks that needs to happen here? And this is all just stuff that was pre-created when I did the install, and then some announcements. Very similar to what WordPress puts on their announcements in the WordPress admin. And no, there's no Hello Dolly. F you, Hello Dolly. Can't believe that crap is still there. All right. Over here on the sidebar, we've got create, and this lets us create a page, a blog post, document, image, or user account. If I come over to content, I can see all my content and filter down by content type, publish status. I can see what's been moderated and what is scheduled. I've got my media management, which still isn't very great compared to, WordPress's media management has been a shit show forever. This one's still not great. I think it's okay, but it's nothing special. I do have a grid view. That's pretty. Trash. Structure. This is where I really start getting into defining the types of content that I'm going to have and how I'm going to structure my site. So, you do all the templates, you create your templates and things like that using code. Here in the interface is where you would build out your content structure. And this is, I'm not going to dive into it too much. I can probably do a later stream on this. But this is where a lot of the power lies. So here we can come in and really start looking at things like my header and block layout menus, configure my menu items, different settings for each of these things, structure, content types. So blog types, I can come in here and manage the fields that are included in blogs. For basic pages, I can manage the fields that are there. If I want to add another content type, where was that? Here. If I want to add another content type, I just say add new content type. And I'm going to say, I want to add a content type called employees. And I can set my publishing options, whether, what kind of stuff I want to display here. Do I want this to be in the menu or not on the menu, or which menu do I want it to be in? I can schedule the post for whenever I want it, or I can schedule this content type to be created whenever I want it. And I'll say save and manage fields. And now I'm going to create some new fields. So here, let's give me a text field. For the user's biography. Also, I'm going to save that. And we'll add another one for plain text. That's going to be preferred name. And this probably isn't too much different than using something like ACF that you guys have used before. And there's all sorts of stuff here. We can really customize these settings. I can manage where the stuff's going to get displayed. Who can create, edit, modify all this stuff. So now when I come over here to create, I can say I can create a new employee. I'm not going to do Bob Newhart. Joe Jimbo, cool. There we go. And Joe Jimbo likes to be called Joseph. Save that, and there we go. Now, if I want to, I can come in and edit this content using this right here. I can do lots of other stuff. I can arrange how it's viewed on the web page. But again, not going to get into all that. Just wanted to show you, here inside structure is where we really start to build out what this is all going to look like. Coming down to here to appearance, this is where I have my themes for the interface of the website, as well as administration themes. So this administration theme, these are the ones that are installed by default, and you can switch between them. And this just changes what the backend looks like. So without having to have a plugin to change your administrative themes like you do in WordPress, you can do it right here from the interface. Extend, this is, again, talking about modules. These are like plugins for WordPress, only more. And I'll talk about this in a little bit more. I got to stop looking at comments because Kyle's over here talking about secure custom fields. So I'm going to, yeah. Thanks, man. Question here, you have to build your templates in code. Do you have to build them in code? No-ish. Sort of, maybe, kind of. That's a complicated question. Yes, you build your templates in code. You can modify them using something called the layout builder here, which sort of is a layer on top of your templates. they're working on something called Experience Builder that's going to allow you to build all your templates using a visual interface. And I don't remember what the timing for that's going to be, probably in 4 to 6 months. But that's supposed to come in version 2.0. And it looks really good. As a matter of fact, do I have a link to it somewhere? I might have a link to it here in one of my browser windows. So here's Starshot Initiative, Drupal Starshot, Power of Experience Builder. So Experience Builder is going to look a lot like Gutenberg, as a matter of fact. Hopefully it's not going to suck as much. When I saw it, it felt like a cross between Gutenberg and Elementor from a user interface perspective, but a heck of a lot more powerful. Just sorry for me flipping through here. I think they have screenshots, but maybe not. All right, I'm not going to go through this right now. Project team, yada, yada, yada. Nope. All right. So extend. This is where we talk about modules and things like that. We've got these things called recipes, which are groups of modules that serve different purposes. That you can install a recipe, and it will install a set of modules for you, and it will set some configuration options for you automatically without you having to do it. This is kind of nice. This is one of the things that I really, really love here, is that if I want something to have, if I want to add a blog to a business website, I can just install this blog module. It'll create that content type for me. It'll create the fields for me, all that stuff. It'll even populate it with a little bit of demo data that I can put in there, or that I can take out or leave in if I want to and use. If I want to have some SEO tools in there, so by default, it's not going to install stuff for you to really manage all the SEO fields that you would normally want to manage. But all I have to do here is click install, and it's going to install everything that I need to set defaults for SEO, either at a global level or at a content type level. And then from there, I can manage it even further on the specific page or post or piece of content. If I want to do forms, I can say install forms, and it installs a super cool form builder. As a matter of fact, Experience Builder. Yeah, thanks. This form builder is this kind of rivals a lot of what we pay for inside WordPress. So I've been really impressed with this. It's got some accessibility tools built in, some accessibility checking tools. I haven't really dived into this too much, but I'm kind of curious about it. A little bit of an events management system. Nothing like the plugins that you're thinking of, like the events manager or anything like that inside here, but it'll add a content type for events, and it'll start adding some fields and let you do a little bit of management there, but it's not going to have the same kind of depth or breadth that your event management plugins inside WordPress have. So anyway, these recipes, what I'm really getting at is this is just a bundle of modules and configurations that are already pre-created and known to work that you can just one click, install and go. If I want to look at all the stuff here, I can browse through this giant list of recommended modules, which has all sorts of stuff for web forms, SEO, geocoding, different types of fields that I can add in here. Workflow. The workflow inside of Drupal is just wild. I'm loving it. AI, they've done a lot with integrating AI inside of Drupal CMS, and I need to play with it. I've really been slacking on the AI front, but from what I understand, they've done really cool stuff with AI here, and I need to look at it. So this is all the stuff that's sort of built in and recommended. Then you come over here to browse. These are the contributed modules. This is going to be a little bit more like what we're used to in the WordPress plugin repository, where we can see all the stuff that is created by third parties that are not necessarily affiliated or recommended by Drupal, but they're listed in the repository. Whereas over here in list, this is the stuff that they recommend that they say that you probably want to at least look at these or check these out first. Browse. This gives you all the things. And a lot of this is really high quality stuff. And then the recipes, I talked about that already. Configuration, this is where we look at all of our system settings, a ton of stuff in there, and I'll get to it in a bit. People, users, reports. This is also very nice. So this is where we can see a lot of things like status of the system, updates. I can see my email logs. I can see form submissions, things like that in here. This Views plugin. Views is probably one of the more powerful things inside of WordPress. It basically lets me do a database query through the interface and take a look at pretty much anything that I want to look at through a UI. And, you know, I could probably go in and do an entire half-day webinar on views, but I'm not going to. So anyway, that's just a quick glance of the interface. Let's do this. Do a quick install of Drupal, just so you can see what that's all about, because it's not hard to do. The hardest part is installing DDEV. And DDEV is what you're going to want to install on your local machine if you're testing it locally. If you're installing it on your web server, you need to have PHP and Composer installed. And I'm on my other browser. Start initiative. There we go. All right. So getting started, start building with it. Cool. So we can come to the Drupal website, go to download and say download Drupal. This will take us to this page right here. If I'm installing it on my web server, I can just, that has Composer already installed. I can just copy and paste this in there and you're off to the races. If I'm installing it on my local machine, then I can download this zip file. Actually, I'm going to come over here and click on this. It says install with DDEV because DDEV is a nice little local environment to use. So here I am on my machine. I've got DDEV installed. I have Drupal CMS already downloaded. So I'm just going to say unzip CMS, and that's going to extract it to Drupal-CMS. And I'm going to go into that directory. And from here, I'm going to just run launch Drupal CMS.sh. And it's going to do a quick configure. And while it's doing that, I'll take a drink of water. Okay, it's installed. And boom, it's installed, and this is the setup. So to get there, I installed DDEV. If you go to DDEV.com, it'll show you how to install it. Download that zip file, extract it, run launch Drupal CMS. And then to start and stop it, all you do is just run DDEV stop and DDEV start and DDEV launch. But here I am, it's installed it. I can select what I want to get started. So what's one that I haven't done yet? I haven't done news yet. Let's try news. And say next. Give my site a name, and I'm going to call this news Drupal CMS site, just so that I can keep track of it. So again, I think Drupal's taking a look at the famous WordPress one-click installer, 5-minute install, and they're trying to do something similar here. And I think for the most part, they've succeeded. As long as you've got Composer installed on there, everything else is really simple. So we can see what it's doing. It's installed, not WordPress, Drupal core and Drupal CMS, and now it is applying all those different recipes and configurations. All right, here we go. And now we have it. WP Weekly said, no GUI for DDEV. No, there's no GUI for DDEV. It's all command line. It would be nice if there was a GUI for it, but it's It's really simple. There's not a whole lot that you need to know for day-to-day stuff. All right, so here we are back in that same admin interface that we looked at before. Create content. This takes us right here to say, do I want to create a basic page or a news item? To my dashboard, choose recommended add-ons. And this is going to take me to, I should probably stop some of I've got like 8 of these things running right now. So that's going to take me to my recipes. Browse modules, that's going to take me over to the modules list. Create content types. And this is, again, we already looked at that. Change site appearance. So here we can come in to look at the installed themes. If I want to install other themes, I can go to the Drupal website and see the different themes that are available and install them. Or I can come in here and do settings. And I can view the options for the theme that's installed and active right now. Put my logo in there, upload a new one, favicons, change some default colors and whatnot. Themes. Let's talk about themes for just a second, because it works very similar to the way that WordPress themes work. Is that you've got a theme that defines a bunch of stuff. You can either create a new theme from scratch, or you can extend a theme. So just like we had child themes inside of WordPress, you do a very similar thing inside of Drupal, where you take a pre-existing theme and then you extend it. You modify the templates. You modify whatever you need to add, change, whatever. That doesn't modify the core theme itself. So if the core theme gets updated or changes, you don't lose any of your changes. Your stuff just gets layered on top. So that was that. So installing it, like I said, super easy. Not a whole lot more to talk about. Let's talk about some differences in terminology, and I've already gone through quite a few of these already. So drafts and revisions, that's what we have inside of WordPress. Inside of Drupal, that's all part of the workflow module. Plugins inside WordPress are called modules inside of Drupal. Workflows is just really cool. I'm going to jump in there in a minute. Posts and pages are the default content types inside of WordPress. Over in Drupal, they're all just called content types. You're not given a set of default content types that you need to go through and either modify or delete or whatever. You've got to start and build them out however you want. Same thing with categories and tags. Those are just different kinds of taxonomies. And we're used to the term taxonomy in WordPress because we want that all-encompassing term. In Drupal, it's just called taxonomy. Getting into the more Dev-y type things, WP CLI, which is the command line interface to WordPress. Drush is the equivalent Drupal tool. WP config, PHP, all that stuff would be here in settings.php in Drupal. And what we would normally think of that we would put inside of a functions PHP or a code snippet or custom plugin, those all go inside of custom modules in Drupal. Again, not a whole lot different, just different terminology, slightly different ways of doing things. I mentioned it before, again, Drupal's a modular system, and it's got those 3 types of modules. It's got those core modules. That's the essential functionality. They're officially maintained by Drupal. They're tested when new versions of Drupal come out. And yes, I agree with you. Content type is a way better term. Well, I'm actually surprised to see people are commenting that they like the interface of the Drupal admin interface. I think it's slick too. I think it looks nice, and once you learn your way around it, it's pretty sweet. Especially when you compare it to WordPress with. Oops, wrong browser. Good thing that wasn't porn. Seriously, I'm closing that. Where the hell is my other browser? Did I close it? Nah, there it is. All right, so yeah, let's take a look at a blank WordPress site. You're greeted with this. Like seriously? Look at the admin dashboard. You've got this. I mean, this is just, it's simple, it's fast, but man, it's dated. I've got my posts, I've got my pages, Not everything needs to be a blog. Jesus Christ, people don't. Yes, I know that WordPress has its roots as a blogging platform. That's part of what I always hated about it. But seriously, why do you have to have some of this default stuff in here that has to get ripped out? Anyway, I digress. Comments, Jesus Christ. I turn comments off on almost every default install. Anyway. Bring this in here so that I'm just working in one browser. All right. So we've got those core modules. That's the stuff that's maintained by Drupal, and they make sure that it all works when updates happen. Contributed module, these are written by third parties. And, you know, it's similar to the WordPress repository, not nearly as much commercialization, I don't know, as with WordPress. Most of the things that are in the contributed module are still open source and generally free. So that's really nice. There are still some paid things for paid modules, and that's fine. I mean, developers need to eat too. But I probably spent thousands of dollars on WordPress plugins, and you can do a very similar thing inside Drupal without spending $1. It's really, really wild. And then custom modules, again, this is the stuff that are specific to your project. You would just create a custom module for it, and it doesn't need to be complicated. Just like creating a plugin in WordPress can be done with one single file. Custom modules, again, super simple to use. And I do like that they force you to use custom modules instead of having this functions.php thing that everyone throws their snippets into that is just a god-awful mess. Here, you're sort of forced into doing modules and organizing it just a little bit more. Let's see. Question here. Developers only eat Snickers. Yeah, I don't know where that came from, but I like Snickers. Does the Drupal content type menu have a submenu for each content type flyout? Do we have to filter the content each time? You're saying in here? Yes, in here you would need to filter it each time. There may be a module that helps you do that a little bit better. You can also modify the sidebar here. So if you wanted to create a menu item that only showed, blog posts or something like that here, so you got one-click access to it, you can do that. And like I said, I've got 80 of these things. As a matter of fact, let's go off script here for a second. So this is the Drupal site that we stood up a minute ago, and I've got a blank Drupal 11 site that I was just playing with, just so you can see what the heck it looks like. I don't know why Krill's asking if I'm straight. Yeah, I'm straight. Anyway, just looking at comments, reading them, and trying to gather my thoughts. All right, so here's Drupal 11. It has the same sort of look and feel. It's got a different admin theme installed. So instead of the flyout sidebar for the admin, I've got this thing that drops down. It doesn't have the nice dashboard. But I can still come in here and manage my structure, my content, my appearance. I wonder if I do have the administration theme. Olivero. No. It does. Gin, I think, is the name of the admin theme on Drupal CMS. Extend. So here, again, we've got those core modules, field types. It doesn't have quite as much of a list as we have in Drupal CMS. And you also can't install all the contrib modules. Here you've got to install all your modules using Composer, which is just a package manager. But you can't do it through the interface the way that you can in Drupal CMS. Configuration, again, very similar. Interface is not nearly as nice though. You've got a menu item and stuff that you've got to click through, and then you've got to hit the back button and use breadcrumbs to navigate through it. People, reports. But still, editing, modifying content, very, very similar. Let's come in and see. Content. I don't have any content on here right now. But I can add content. I can add a basic page. And I've got a summary. This is going to be similar to excerpts inside WordPress. Body, this is going to be the main text. And very similar basic editor here. And some information about the post itself, sort of the meta stuff that you would have inside WordPress. And inside of Drupal CMS, all that's here in a sidebar. Inside Drupal 11, it's down below. And say preview. There it is. Again, nothing special, nothing great looking. Let's go back and say save, publish. There we go. And no way to really get to that page once you've saved it. So if I do a similar thing here and create a new basic page, I can put my featured image in. I'll just grab this one. I'll grab, boom. There's my description. Content. And I don't want to do tags or anything like that. Revision logs. I can set logs for my revisions. I can say, do I want to save it as a draft or do I want to publish it? Do I want this in the menu? Sure, I'll put it in the menu. I'll have it in there as my test page. Do I want to have it as a submenu item? Do I want to put it under news? Nope, I'll just have it in the main navigation. Do I want to schedule this to be published at a certain time or unpublished at a certain time? Nope, I'll just leave it as is. Change my URL alias if I want to, so that it'll either go using my configured alias pattern, or I can set up a separate one. So yeah, right now it's called test page, so it's going to be test-page, given the pattern that I have here, or I can have whatever else I want instead of it being test page. Author information, do I want to include it on the home page? Got it. So save. And then there we go. Once I've saved it, I know it's been saved. I immediately take into the preview so that I can see what's been published. From here, I can edit it, or I can go back. I can even come in, and Layout Builder is the sort of GUI for modifying layouts. So this is a bit like a block editor, where I can add different sections to either a specific page or a content type. So if I want to add another block or another section to this particular post, I can. If I say add block, it comes up with something on the sidebar here that lets me choose what we would think of as being custom fields in the WordPress world. So menu links, revision type, change to an author by. These are all different fields, different piece of information, meta information, if you want to call it that we can add to there. Forms, if we want to add forms. I don't think I have the forms module installed. Let's see, really anything that you can imagine can go in here. What I don't have is a way to add custom content, because we haven't gone through and created new content types over here. So if I wanted to do that, I don't even think I'm going to get into it right now. But basically, I would create a new block type that has some default content fields already associated with it, and then I'd be able to add that particular type of block in here. But again, we're starting to get into template building and page layouts and things that I don't necessarily want to get to. If I say add section, though, I can come in here and do that. So I can say 1, 2, 3, or 4 column section, 2 column. I can change my widths. This is all well and good. It gives me some really, really basic stuff. I don't I'm not able to set breakpoints, not able to do anything crazy like that. Not even able to really do a whole lot of configuration other than give it a name and default widths. So a lot of that stuff, again, you would need to do inside code and specifically inside your templates. But it's not bad for just some quick and dirty on the fly. This is not meant for designing page layouts, designing complex page layouts. This is meant for content editors to come in and put their content in for a particular page or post or news article or any whatever it is that they're creating. It's for content creators. It's not meant for site designers. That's what the new experience designer is going to be all about. All right, coming back here. Yes, Kyle, initial reaction, stick with the devil, yeah, I totally agree. Stick with WordPress if you're familiar with WordPress. If you're really looking for an alternative, I'm kind of liking this. What else we have? Drupal suited for the experienced WordPress devs. Yes, it is. As a matter of fact, let me come back here straight. All right, so Amal says, Drupal is suited for experienced WordPress devs, but given the WordPress issues, maybe we should consider looking into Drupal as an alternative. For me, I'm using Drupal 11, well, Drupal 10 right now, going to be Drupal 11 by the time we launch, for an enterprise site. And, given all the stuff happening inside WordPress, I've got a fire lit under my butt to look for an alternative CMS for, basic business websites, informational sites, things like that that are, relatively simple. I hadn't considered using Drupal for that, only because Drupal's complicated. It just takes a long time. So, I actually just did a live stream a few days ago looking at 25 different CMS platforms. And even now, I'm going to really take a closer look at Kirby and lots of others. But after seeing what they've done with Drupal CMS, I think it's something I need to revisit. Is this something that could work well for a small business? I think it might. And I think and maybe that's just because I've got the technical know-how and the experience to be able to do this, to be able to use it. But man, it is so much easier than trying to fit Drupal, Drupal 11 or 10 into that world. I can have this up and running really quickly, same as I would something like a Kirby or an October CMS. So yeah, I need to throw this back in as a contender for small business platform. I don't know. All right, so Krill says, as far as I know, there's no equivalent of Elementor for Drupal. At best, there's a less functional counterpart. Am I right? Yes. DXPR, hold on. There is this thing called Drupal Page Builder, DXPR Builder. This is, let me see if I can find the damn thing. This is probably the closest to Elementor that you're going to find. And it's not free. You got a personal version for free that it's allowed on one production website, 100 content items. But to really use it in any meaningful way, you've got to pay for it. It's good. They've got this page builder that's built around it. They've got a theme that's built around it. If you're really looking for something to come in a GUI environment to develop a Drupal site start to finish, this is as good an option as any. It's just expensive, and I wouldn't pay the money for it. But then again, I can code themes and layouts by hand. It's got a lot of the same sort of things that an Elementor has in there. Drupal Experience Builder is supposed to be, a lot of what this is, plus a lot of what Gutenberg is. It's supposed to do the same sort of thing where you get that page builder-like interface. Is it going to be Elementor? No. I mean, Elementor is just a massive thing that's, they've spent a lot of time, effort, and money building this system out. It's not going to be anything like that. But it'll be functional. and I'm looking forward to checking it out. All right. Kyle says, stick with the devil I know. Yeah, stick with the devil you know, unless there's a compelling reason to change. And right now, I don't think that there's a compelling reason for most people to change platforms. Don't. It is worth taking a look at other platforms. It is worth, having something in your back pocket or diversifying even. But yeah, there's no reason to say, okay, well, as of tomorrow, no more WordPress. WordPress isn't going anyplace. It'll be fine. Wayne says, you got to use the right tool for the job. When you understand all the requirements for the job, you can evaluate which tool CMS best suits. Your decision has to be based on what your team knows. Yes, absolutely. Always let your requirements drive the product, not the other way around. For me, I have a requirement right now to have the smallest number of platforms that I support for a wide range of different client types. So I'm really looking for something that's going to be for small to medium-sized informational sites, as well as large sites. And I was thinking about that being two separate platforms because those requirements for those two different sorts of sites are vastly different. But now I'm looking at this going, hey, if it can be met by a single product, similar to what we had in WordPress, then yeah, let's explore that. All right. Anyway, I've got just a few more things here, and we're going to try to wrap it up pretty quickly. So standout features. Yeah, this is the last slide that I have here. We already talked about recipes. We talked about how those are those pre-configured sets of modules and settings. That's really nice. We expect to see more recipes coming in the future. As a matter of fact, Drupal also has like quick starts. So while you're installing Drupal, you can install it with a quick start that already has all sorts of different things pre-configured. It's sort of the precursor to recipes almost. But you can set up a quick start for a food blog, or a quick start for an event management system, or a quick start for God knows what, and it'll have the recommended modules, content types, all that stuff already pre-done for you. That's kind of nice. That sort of what we used to do, or I guess what we still do in WordPress when we take a snapshot of a site. We stand one up, configure it the way we want it, and take a snapshot, and then reuse that over and over again as a template. It sort of is the same way, only you're not using a pre-configured site. You're sort of building I hate to use the term recipe again, but you're sort of building the instructions for doing all that. So it was that. The events, conditions, and actions. The rules builder is just really cool. And I'm going to show you these web forms because I'm loving the web forms too. Let's see where we are. Here we go. Workflow. All right. So in here, this is where we can really come in and start changing what happens under certain conditions. So, it's got a full-on modeler built in there. And all this is driving the logic behind the website. So stuff that you would definitely have to do a lot of this in code inside WordPress to build a new workflow, can be done visually inside of Drupal. Things that you just wouldn't even think to modify. Workflow. So this is basic workflow. So we talked about draft and publish like we have inside of WordPress. Here we can actually add other states if we want to, and we can change what states go where, and what content types that they apply to. So again, this is stuff that you would generally have to do inside code in WordPress, but we've got an interface to do it here in Drupal. What else did I want to show you here? Is this my sandbox? Yes. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. Where am I? Web form plugins. Nope. Here we go, structure web forms. There we go. Okay, so one of really quick, yes, you're right. Adding states is very interesting, Kyle. So let's just take a quick look here at the web forms. I think I've covered everything else. You know, I'm gonna add in the SEO tools here if I haven't already, just so you can see what that's all about. So without having to install a separate SEO plugin, we can do a lot of that here inside the core stuff. Okay, I do have it installed here. Yo, configuration, search and metadata. So here I can set my URL aliases, my pattern. So this is saying, you know, how's it going to title the page names for me? I'm going to bulk generate things. Bulk generate taxonomy terms, and wow, my screen just went totally blank. And we're back. Cool. That was fun. I think it's my computer saying, get off the damn stream. Where was I? Oh yeah, configuration, search metadata. So meta tags. Here I can take a look at how it's going to generate the metadata, meta tags globally on specific pages and on content types. Change my sitemap settings. I can even do URL redirects without having to install a plugin, which is all kind of nice. And then again, on any piece of content, let's come in here to this project page, edit. Here I can come down and add, you know, SEO title, description, image, even do a little bit of SEO analysis. So again, you know, it's nice having the ability to do all this stuff without having to install any other plugins. I don't know why WordPress still forces you to install a plugin to do some of the most basic SEO things. Same thing with, you know, the most basic form stuff. At one point, I know WordPress was talking about the concept of canonical plugins. And I think the core modules inside Drupal are sort of what canonical plugins would be if they ever happen inside WordPress. Anyway, let's come in here to, do I have views set up on this? I do have views. Views, again, super powerful. This is where we can just see basically any kind of data from the site. But I wanted to show web forms. So here, let's do this one. I've got a few examples I can pop up because there is so much that you can do with this. And I'm just going to do this example computed AJAX form. I mean, nothing earth shattering, but the fact that we can do this without having to buy a plugin. 200 pounds for 5'10", BMI. What's another one? Conditional logic. We can do conditional logic. So click a box and it shows me more stuff. All sorts of conditions. And I'll show you how we actually build this in a minute. So we can do multi-step forms pretty easily. And even have a style guide. So this example form has pretty much every field type that you can imagine in one place that you can just sort of go through and see what we've got. We got ratings, we've got scales, we've got signature fields, all the things. So if I want to edit any of these, I just come over here and say build. Now I've got all my fields selected. You know, I'm going to choose a form that's not nearly as complicated to edit on. I'm in the wrong one again. There we go. And we're just going to edit a contact form. So I've got my name field, and I can add, you know, help text, set my display conditions, validation for the form. I can say, you know, show this, you know, under certain conditions. default values, all sorts of stuff. Getting into this is what something like Gravity Forms. I mean, this is for free. A lot of what Gravity Forms has to offer. Is there stuff that something like Gravity or WS Form or any of those can do that this can't? Yeah, definitely. I'm sure there is. But this is free and it's built in. I don't have to pay for it. So yeah, I'm all for that. CAPTCHA, we've got CAPTCHA built in. I don't think we have two-factor authentication built in. I'm pretty sure that's another module. But yeah, anyway, there's just so much that we've got to pay for inside WordPress because WordPress refuses to add things to core that in the Drupal world you get, because they're either added as core modules that all you need to do is click them and install it, or they are free contrib modules. So yeah, there we go. All right, I'm going to do a few more questions and then jump off of this thing. Drupal community, since Drupal 5 days, has never monetized modules. Community was always about contributing. Yes, and I love that about the Drupal community. It very much has that open source feel to it. But I think that's also sort of what's held it back. And part of what helped grow WordPress is the third-party paid community, because it encouraged third-party developers to build these awesome things that we've bought and use inside WordPress, and let them get paid for their work. So you need to have the user community as well as a nice solid product. You've got to have a whole ecosystem around it, and WordPress has done an amazing job of fostering that ecosystem, for better or for worse. Imagine trying to train non-technical client with web forms, though. It's near impossible. But why? How often are end users coming in and modifying web forms? They're not. I mean, maybe they are in some circumstances. I haven't seen it. Maybe they will come in and add a field from time to time, but for the most part, they are not doing that. It's something that either me or my team are handling for them. I guess I've got a nonprofit or two that will come in and they've got a form that they've got contributions, but they're not doing it from scratch. They're like adding a field or changing some text. So that's the sort of thing that I think would be very easy to train them on. Would I want an end user to come in and create a form from scratch? Hell no. I wouldn't want them doing it inside of even the most friendly WordPress plugin either. So there we go. Wayne, is a developer tool far too complicated for a client? Yeah, again, I think a lot of this stuff is for developers, and it comes down to the target audience. Okay, you've got a good point, because they are saying that they're aiming Drupal CMS at marketers, small businesses, content creators. So those are going to be people who aren't quite as technical as a developer, but they're not going to be total novices either. They're not like Susie from marketing, who knows how to come in and publish a piece of content from time to time. Or Mike Manager, who comes in and approves publication of a new employee or a change to something. Those are the types of things that I see my end users doing all the time. They'll create a piece of content, they'll prove a piece of content, but they're not coming in to create new content types. They're not coming in to really do crazy things with page layouts, unless they're bloggers or content creators. In which case, we give them the tools to do that. We give them something like Gutenberg, and we can actually install the Gutenberg editor here inside of Drupal, and it works just fine. So, yeah, I mean, if they're doing that sort of thing, then they need to be a little bit more technical. But again, I don't think this is quite as overwhelming. What this really does, though, is it gets you over that initial hurdle, because they already have those recipes created for you. They've already got so much of this stuff built in and pre-configured that I don't need to worry about it every time I stand up a new site anymore. I don't need to spend days, weeks, months researching what the right configuration is for certain types of sites, because the 80% is handled for me right there. Works great from a data compliance point of view. Too complicated for a client to build a form that collects random data without any professional guidance. Yep, I got you. And I sort of came off as disagreeing with you, Wayne, about clients. And I think you're right. I think you're right that the forms, I wouldn't stick a client on the forms thing. I would let them modify one maybe, but I wouldn't have them create it. And overall in general, I think Drupal CMS is getting there for an end user, for a marketer, for a content creator. I don't think it's there yet. If I took this and a laptop to the mall and told someone walking by, or asked someone walking by to create a website, they'd look at me like I had two heads. Or even a semi-technical person that has done a Wix site or something like that, they would really struggle with this. I see this iteration of Drupal CMS being geared towards the WordPress user community, maybe the mid to high end WordPress user community, the WordPress agencies, the WordPress power users, not the people who still don't know the difference between WordPress.com and .org. So yeah, I don't see this as being totally user-friendly, but I see it being user-friendly enough that if somebody came from WordPress and said, you know what, I'm sick of this platform, or God forbid my client says we can't use WordPress come hell or high water, this could definitely be an option without them having to go to a Webflow. Well, yes, they probably would have to go to a Webflow because right now the interface to really change the templates isn't nearly as friendly. But anyway, I digress. It's a step in the right direction, and it's a hell of a lot better than Drupal used to be. There we go. I'm going to leave it at that. Step in the right direction, hell of a lot easier than Drupal used to be. Still too complicated for most WordPress users, but not out of reach the way that it used to be. Boom, there we go. I'm 10 minutes over, and I think we're good. Let's check these last comments, then I'm out of here. So Amel says, avoid using Drupal for small to medium business websites. You'll end up being the all-in-one person managing everything. Ish. I mean, I've got a team of fairly technical people that I work with that, if they picked up all the crazy shit that I've thrown at them so far, they could definitely pick this up. And the templating's not really any harder than it is for WordPress. So I'm cool with that. Let's see. Crushing Pixel says, that's what we're here for, right? They hire us so they don't have to worry about creating, changing, editing website content. I'm going to challenge you on that one, Crushing Pixels, that they hire us so that they don't have to worry about creating, editing website content. Because I am 100% in the camp of allowing my clients to manage their own content, but not their own website. And they're really two totally different things. And maybe that's just the clients that I have, is that they need to be editing the content. They're in there, every day changing something, but it's content, it's structured content. It's not the freeform crap of, big open white, they don't come in and have this as every page where they have to create everything using blocks. I give them custom fields for everything that's structured, and this ends up being like the main body of the page. I don't create the page layouts inside Gutenberg unless it's a block theme, in which case they don't really have access to modify the block theme. But yeah, I definitely think that our users should be able to come in and edit the content. And I think this gives it to them, in a fairly easy to use way. I don't love the order that they put some of this stuff in by default. I don't love the fact that featured image is all the way at the top. I really think it should be, title, description, content, and then maybe featured image. I think it's a little awkward having featured image here, or even put that in the sidebar. But, that can all be configured. But I don't see any reason why I can't have, someone from marketing or, an assistant, not an assistant, but someone from marketing or, someone who would need to manage content, for whatever reason, to come in here, change some text around, add some text to a field, change a couple things, update a picture, add some links. None of that is too terribly difficult. And the fact that the Drupal interface is so configurable makes it so that it can be relatively easy to do. Cool. All right. Anyway, like I said, I'm over. It's now 4:13. I really appreciate you guys sticking with me. I know that the first 10 minutes had no audio, and I sincerely apologize for that. Like I said, one of these days I'll get used to doing live streams. Appreciate everybody sticking with me, though. Take care. If you have any questions, please leave comments for me. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. You can always hit me up on social media, and I'll see you guys around. Thanks so much.